Alright, so someone wanted to request me how to even get good on on the original COD4 slash the remaster because I got nothing better to do than just to wait on whatever it is and thus delay any more matches. Now, the first thing I want to note is what was it? Both the original COD4 and the remaster are really random because it just happens. Either you just have a bad connection, or the enemy team's full of tryhards, or your own teammates are just horrible at the game in general. So that's why. So don't get discouraged, because what happens is sometimes your your streak of wins or lose, or your KD stuff is gonna mess up on you, because I don't get it. Out of like very little effort for myself, is that I somehow did well, and that's about it. And then well, the thing about the original COD 4 is that the original COD 4? It's just simply because the game is dead and whatnot, so that's why. Well, it's dead, so you're about to like do nothing but encounter like really horrible people and whatnot, and that's about it. So that's all I gotta say. So, and also, wait, another thing about the randomness that is the game is that don't get discouraged, because everyone, I know people who have 4 to 5 KDs, and yet they end up getting matches where they do bad as well. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for this part. Now, before I begin on entering the the matches at, because I'm on private matches at, the first thing you want to note is when playing is to know what on the weapon balance now, and to know what does what, like how much damage one gun does, how fast it reloads, how much does it recoil, all that in a sense, because you cannot run around using, I don't know, a silent AK on RPG 7 with overkill with a ACOG P90 and have martyrdom and hope for the best. No. I mean, granted, you might encounter a really stupid lobby and thus you can win doing that, but it's full of fail to know what does what, and then know what perks do what, because the COD 4 weapon balance is that on paper is balanced, but the problem is the perks ruin the game. That's really the main thing. You could, I mean, actually, it doesn't really get discouraged at all though, but it's common sense to know that. And also, before, when you start picking your class, actually no, it's in the create a class screen, and that is when choosing your gun. For the love of God, do not use the little stat meters just because one says one has high damage, one has high range. No. They all have a preset range and damage drop off and recoil and whatnot, because the way that I check my info on what gun does what is synthic on what does what, okay? That's how I know my info. Now, the thing about... Oh, another thing I missed about the weapon balance is the entire roster... Well, actually, yeah, what I said about the whole weapon balance is that it's on paper, is that it is balanced. It's that the entire weapon roster, back when they designed this game, is that what happens is it's set to so that if you like a gun and you do good with it, it is your best. Just because one gun does this and one gun does that doesn't mean it's the end of the world for you. Everything is supposed to be like versatile that way, with the exception that is the shotguns, because as those are like quote-unquote horrible within their essence. And then with that being said, I'm going to start with the assault rifles, because when you even first level up in multiplayer, is that the default perks, I mean, not default perks, but the default classes kind of really suck within a sense, because within the exception of assault rifle and the sniper class, because they both are the only ones with stopping power. Now, just choose either those two when you start, and then after that pick up a dead person's SMG, LMG, and then go to town with those just in case you need to. While it does annoy the community because it's the M16, you have no choice. And then now I'm going to start with how to do is the assault rifles.
Team deathmatch. Let's do this, Marines.
And I did not set this thing up right. Now, why do you want to use an assault rifle is because they are the most jack of all trades on what you can do. You can run around with it and whatnot and hope for the best, or you can just pick up from you can pick targets from a distance, for example right here. So that's it. The main downside is it's all dependent on the gun itself, so yeah, that's all I gotta say. And also, when the match starts, the only appropriate time is to run around is when there's no one in sight. So, for example, just go around here, look left, look right, then look at all your corners, for God's sakes. And then after that, when you see a very long range sight line, then start picking the targets, and then there you go. And then after that, when you get indoors, that's when you have a panic situation where you need to hip fire and whatnot, because they balance the assault rifles so that they aim at 0.25 milliseconds. Now, it doesn't sound discouraging to anyone though, but just be warned and whatnot. Be warned and whatnot. That's all I gotta say. And also, when it comes to the damage drop off, now I can't not really show it because obviously I need a friend to be my scapegoat to point out how far they do it, but all the assault rifles are balanced so that they start at 37.5 meters, which is pretty far in COD terms, but pretty far because most of the sight lines you see are not really near. The only time the minimum damage on any of the assault rifles is that it's only going to be if you have a silencer or the really, really big maps. And as for other playstyles of the assault rifles, there's nothing really I can explain more or less, though. But when it comes to the perk choices, is that I always use Bandolier, Stopping Power, and Deep Impact for that, because you can tell. The thing about the perks is that only Stopping Power and Juggernaut dominate in this game, so that's all I gotta say. And with that being said, time to move on to a different class, and that is the SMGs. Okay, now the SMG class, why you would want to use it over anything is because you want to get into close encounters, but it's more forgiving than a shotgun. So because for the most part you want to stick to close encounters, and then since they have a very, very small hip fire crosshair in comparison to the entire weapon roster, is that you don't even have to aim at all, and it's even more amplified when you have steady aim, which, to be honest, is one of the only classes where I use it and whatnot. Now, the only time you should aim is when you're at a long-range sight line. So yeah, and just pray that. But the problem is they all have a little bit too much recoil to be pecking at someone at a distance. So your best bet is to just try and get close like a shotgun. But then after that, spray down someone's face. Now, some of you might be asking, like, why do I have nothing on the 74U? It's because some of the guns in the game are balanced so that, well, the term is called attachment discrepancies, because obviously they did this for balancing purposes, because technically the 74U is an overpowered gun, but they have to balance it by making you not use attachments, because it will widen the hip spread to the assault rifle size, as they balance this gun to be the assault rifle SMG hybrid, because a lot of on top of that, a lot of the stats make it beat the MP5. So yeah, but I'll do I mean, I could go explaining more though, but that's what looking up Synthic is for. And then last but not least is actually another thing. It can pierce through walls, which, yeah, you can see the bullet holes are right here. Yeah, see? Oh yeah, and then I forgot to say about the assault rifles is they have medium penetration, while technically all the SMGs would have low, which they would fail to pierce this, but since it's a 74U, I managed to. Now then, for the LMG class. Now the LMGs is that they're not really popular in any essence, because what happens is that they are balanced so that you are slow at everything. Movement speed, ADS, how fast it even reloads, because they have the belt and the guy takes all day. Yeah, and then what's sad is that they made the reloads even worse, which wasn't even broken in the original COD4, so yeah. So, what is the role on how to play LMG? Well, you wanna, like, set up shop with claymores, or if you're brave enough to not use anything, just use it with a grip, and try and overcome the iron sights in the recoil, and just try and pick off people at a distance, and only use it like a DMR. So if you see some guy over here, just keep pecking at him, and then after that, you might get the kill. But only shoot full auto if he's like, if the enemy is around this, like, this close to you, for example, like right here, and then pray that the recoil doesn't hamper you too much, or else you're gonna have a bad time. So yeah, I mean, some might call it camping though, but others say it's playing smart, and the only time you ever see these being used is objective modes. So yeah, so that's, I mean, granted, back when I was playing the original COD4, I ran around like a headless chicken and somehow did well with all three of them. Yeah, so that's all I gotta say. Now, looking at the shotgun. Okay, now shotguns are the most unique essence, because they balanced it so that what was it? So that one is they do not have a well, actually, yeah, they do not have range at all, because they are programmed to make your shots disappear within a certain distance. So, for example, which makes it really, really frustrating, because as soon as I get close, yeah, see, that's how close you gotta be within the shotgun range, which is pathetically tiny and really annoying, because a lot of maps have really, really horrible long-range sightlines, and thus 9 times out of 10 you're just gonna die to the entire weapon roster. So what your best bet is to try and stick to indoor areas or like small hallways. Now what happens is that, and also note that what was it? These have, if you notice that the crosshairs do not change size at all, All because that's another balancing factor. So if you're the type to drop shot or jump shot, it's not going to change anything. So the only way to change it is with steady aim. Though the problem is this game, when you aim with a shotgun, the problem is it is programmed to widen, which is horrible to do, especially when, yeah, actually it's hard to explain an example though, but that's what they said in Synthic. So the only time you should be aiming is to do the aim walk, because, well, even though the W1200 is the only one that can do it, and so as for the perk setup, is that I mostly, actually no, yeah. So before I explain, is that another reason is that the damage values, that it's really random at times, because it's obviously whatever number and then multiplied by the buckshot. So yeah, that's why my setup is to use Juggernaut on both of them. Though I've been trying to get a match with steady aim, which I'm not with the W1200, which is getting it more consistent. But the M1014 is unscathed. So yeah, so who knows when that's gonna be. Yeah, so yeah, and then also another issue is when you're in the long-range sight line, that's the only time you should be running, is you're constantly fighting to take cover and make sure you avoid anyone. I mean, you could try UAV jammer so that you can avoid being seen, but even then, you want to like try and survive the firefight with Juggernaut. And also, I tried using stopping power to horror though, or from time to time, and it will get you those weird Spaz 12 from Modern Warfare 2 type kills and kill someone from afar though, but even then it's like you're still gonna die. So yeah, that's really the annoying part. Well, that's one annoying part, but also another annoying part is taking on enemies with Last Stand and Martyrdom. So yeah, those things are gonna ruin your day unless you know how to fast swap. Yeah, so that's all I gotta say. Then last but not least, the snipers. Okay, so the sniping class is that, for the love of God, do not run around in quick scope like this. It's the worst idea ever. I don't know why people do it. So yeah, so I'm no advocate of doing that. It's the playstyle is somewhat like the LMGs, but it is highly advised to never leave the area and only pick targets from afar. That's really the main goal, and oftentimes because of this is that you're gonna have the least amount of kills, but hey, it's to play smart. And now the balancing factor on the sniper rifles is that you gotta, actually not you gotta, but they all have the same damage number, but they're all reliant on the body multipliers, which obviously, looking at Synthic and knowing which one does what will help you determine what it is and then whatnot. And also, so that's all I gotta say about the snipers, because it was just short. Now, one last thing before. Okay, that didn't kill me. Okay, I forgot to mention this in the SMGs though, but now on the playstyle is that you can actually somewhat is that when running around is like I usually like to do is try and find the nearest solid cover and just try and using the aim walk speed, because only those not being the only non-shotgun that can utilize the full movement speed when aiming and walking. So it's pretty much like the stalker before it was even a thing, and it can throw someone off really bad and whatnot. And then when it comes to the use of solid cover, it's like, especially when it's a car, these things are 100% bulletproof ever since the first COD ever, so that's another issue. That's all I gotta say. And then one more thing, but I gotta like stop recording and re-edit the classes.
Team deathmatch.
Okay, as soon as I get back into the match, it's at ... Okay. Okay, I want to talk about is stealth, and that is with UAV jammer and a silencer. Now, the thing about UAV jamming is that when you have these things both in conjunction, is you will never show up on radar. So this is a powerful tool if you can play your cards right and whatnot, because you can play aggressive with it, you can play defensive with it, and then you will do, and you will destroy the opposition. It's also even deadlier if you can convince your whole team to use UAV jammer and a silencer as well, because that way no one will show up on radar. As the thing about radar is that sometimes, depending on the match, is that you can have an enemy call in a UAV every second, which is annoying, and thus it promotes that. Whatnot. Now, it's like, it's that now for some odd reasons the game promotes more defensive play. So when it comes to the UAV jammer class, normally I would be running bomb squad, but what they mean by defensive style is if you're planning a claymore to booby trap and whatnot. Now, because obviously this is to counter campers, and how to counter campers is you go to the areas where they usually would be hiding at and just play at their own game, but have one advantage, and that is staying off that radar with UAV jammer. Is that it will hinder them super extreme to the point where they're the ones that are going to be the cause of why the enemy team has a lot of deaths. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that section. And then with that being said, wish anyone luck on trying to play this game still.